With the help of God, we come to the conclusion of these 3 days that we have been preparing for the feast of Saint Rita. And we meditate on how she was really, when she was young, she wants to become a religious, and under the obedience of her parents, she gets married to a very vicious and very, as we say, out of control man. And he treated her very well, he treated her very bad. And we know that Rita herself suffered so much. And after 20 years of this, she became widow. And remember, she has 2 children, and these 2 children were being trained by the father to be like him, vicious and sometimes even vindictive. And she prayed that her sons will die before they lay hands on the murderer of their father. It's better, Lord, that you take them than they continue with their evil thoughts. Imagine what a faith the woman has. And then all of a sudden, after 7 years, she tried to enter the convent, but as you know, the religious said that the only people who enter religious life is those who are single, never married. This is something extraordinary. Wrote to her bishop, wrote to the Pope, and finally she entered the convent. Now we begin from here today, entering the convent and her last days on the face of the earth. When she entered the convent, she was very, as we say, the slave of the convent. She was thrown in the kitchen to do all kinds of chores and so forth. She was not very well educated, and so she cannot, be an administrator. And so she continued to do what they ordered her to do. She was under the obedience of her superior, who really did not like Rita at all. She really had no time for Rita. She was forced on them. She was not somebody that she allowed to come in the order. And so she treated her very badly. And I'm speaking this because, I don't want to offend the nuns who are present here. Although you live in the convent, you don't, find heaven. Sometimes there are 7 people there, you agree with 4 and 3, you don't care too much. It's like anyone else, because chemistry sometimes does not match. And sometimes one in the convent can make the other people live, whatever. I'm not going to say it from the order. And the other thing is that Rita really become, as we say, so much in love more with Jesus. The more they mistreat her, the more they say things about her, the more they subject her to different ridiculous things. Like, for example, she gives her a piece of dead vine that has been dead for years, and tell her, go, plant it in the yard and water it every day to see if it's going to flower. Imagine. And Rita, under obedience, she did. She knows that this is dead. She knows that she has been being tested, but she obeyed. What a great lesson, huh? Sometimes, you have different way how to do things, and you want to tell your boss how to do it. If your boss is open to suggestion, he will let you express. But if you say the second word, he will give you the pink paper and tell you to walk. Because sometimes they have their own agenda, and sometimes their agenda is not really practical, but we are not going to go there. The other thing is this, that Rita suffered so much. She was not treated like the rest of the nuns. And finally, she was praying, and she was praying to God that He will give her a share in the suffering of the Passion. And all of a sudden, on Good Friday, while she was praying, one of the thorns flew from the crown of Jesus and hit Rita in the forehead and plunged there and make a wound. And we know that that wound was the cause of her, as we say, separation from her sisters now in the convent. Because of that, they asked her to live now in the basement. They cannot stand her odor. They used to send somebody to give her food because she was not allowed anymore in the kitchen. And also she receive communion on a long pole, like she was behind the grate, and the pole will go in and they give her communion because they cannot stand the odor that comes out of their womb. Rita suffered. Not only suffered the pain as the Lord Jesus suffered, but also suffered the ingratitude of those around her. She didn't blame them because she was a woman who had great faith and great love. If I was me, I would be despaired. After all, this is not something that I invent. The Lord gave it to me. But now Rita kept her lips sacred, and she lived there in patience. She penance herself and did so much mortification. She did so much so that she will make up for the sins of the world. And as you know, when one time the Jubilee was coming of the year, the church celebrated Jubilee on the 50th and the 100th. In other words, the 50 is the year of Jubilee, and then the millennium, of course, the change of the year will be the other Jubilee. And the Jubilee was coming, and she asked God that He will close this room so she can join her sisters to go on the cart, because at that time that's what traveling was not the limousine we have today. Put herself on the cart, and here they go to the city of Rome for the Jubilee.